Welcome to Direction Northeast. Hello, I'm Amanda Broome. This program is a presentation of the Mass Communications Department of Northeast State Community College. From Blackbeard to Captain Jack Sparrow, American audiences have loved stories about pirates. We'll be back in just a moment to learn more about the role pirates play in popular culture with our guest, author of The Complete Idiot's Guide to Pirates, Gail Selinger.
Northeast State's a wonderful place to start your career in college, and the campus is beautiful, the teachers are one-on-one.
It was an excellent decision to come to Northeast State. I've learned so much coming here.
I love the school, and everyone is friendly here. This has been the best time of my life. I have really enjoyed being here.
I think if it hadn't have been for Northeast, then I wouldn't feel as happy and as driven if I chose another school.
Step by step, Northeast State is here to get you there. Enroll now at northeaststate.edu.
Business, medical, and financial institutions must have confidence in the data that they use. Information assurance is the strategic use of technology and software to protect data from internal and external threats. Northeast State offers an associate's degree program designed to fill the demand for information assurance professionals. The Information Assurance program offers hands-on personal instruction. Northeast State Community College is an accredited institution offering financial aid and job placement. Northeast State, we're here to get you there.
Our guest for this episode of Direction Northeast is a self-proclaimed Netflix movie addict. She is an expert in pirates and pop culture. Welcome, Gail Selinger, to Direction Northeast. Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing terrifically, and this is a beautiful campus.
I'm glad you like it.
It is.
So tell us a little bit about how you got involved with pirates.
Well, I like to say it was my sister's fault. She was a movie fanatic, and I would watch with her. And one day she made a comment that the pirates that we were watching on TV were actual really people. And I got fascinated, and I spent the rest of my life just studying it for myself. I went up and down the East Coast to most of the cities that pirates invaded, I should say, and looked at trials and all sorts of interesting things about their ships. And then I went to the Caribbean and England, and then I found out that I was a pirate expert.
So what's so fascinating about pirates to people? You say you got fascinated by pirates, so why do you think they have that appeal?
I think what it is, it's the freedom that they show to people. Here they are, they're completely snubbing the politics and the social mores of the time, and they're going out and they're doing what they want to do. And there was a great deal of democracy. It was actually, on a pirate ship, it was the first democracy that we really know of, where the crews decided the rules of the ship and they abided by their own rules. So I think it's also, people like to see all the clothing and they think, oh wow, this is cool stuff. And it was all the clothing that the nobility used to wear, which pirates were not supposed to wear. There were what you called sumptuary laws, and commoners were not allowed on pain of death or jail to wear them. So pirates would say, well, forget it, stop me. And I think it's that kind of a freedom that we're missing in our society today.
Wow. You mentioned rules. Now, by watching Pirates of the Caribbean, I get the feeling that pirates don't really follow rules. They might follow guidelines. What's the truth there?
The truth is they had their own rules. Every pirate ship had what you would call the ship's articles. And every man on that ship agreed and decided what their articles for that particular ship and that particular voyage would be. And when they finished deciding it, they all wrote their signatures or put their mark on that document in a circle so that no one was considered the one and only captain, and they would abide by those rules. And if they didn't, they were either killed or marooned, which is being left on a small little island, which is true, with only one flintlock, one shot, and maybe one jug of water or rum.
So when did you begin your writing career?
I started writing at the age of 7. I didn't publish since till 1992, but I come from a family of storytellers and writers, and I've been doing it ever since I can remember.
Alrighty, so what lessons do you think we can draw from pirates? Are they our teachers of anything?
Well, I think that pirates themselves, with how they reenacted their lives and how they felt about governments showed that they had a great impact on society. Because of the economics, countries now are either poorer or richer in land or in wealth.
So you mentioned economics and pirates. What sort of impact did pirates have on the economies where they were really large?
Well, what's fascinating is, since the ancient Greeks, they were used by countries, and most countries thought that they could handle and keep a lid on pirates, and it didn't happen. As early as the Greeks, they were going out and collecting taxes from city-states until it got to be a little much and legal economies stopped. And the same thing happened during the golden age of piracy, because what they would say to themselves was, here are these countries, they're getting all of this wealth for themselves. What about us? What about the common man who is on these ships as naval personnel, who are not getting any of their wages promised? We go back on land, we don't have jobs, and isn't it better if we went back to sea and try and get our own money? So they were absolutely controlling the waterways, and in those days that was the only transportation of economic goods from the colonies through Europe and the Middle East.
You mentioned the golden age of piracy. Can you describe that for us? Where did that term even come from?
Well, I think someone coined the golden age of piracy, but the term Spanish Main was actually coined from the English. It was the area of South America, Cuba, and a little bit of Florida, where Spain, after Columbus, went and discovered, quote unquote, all these new countries. And you had a situation where you had Catholic Spain, Portugal, and the Pope against Protestant England and the Netherlands and France. And they were forever fighting and vying for land and wealth. So here the Spanish and the Pope were saying, this is all mine, and the English and the French and the countries of the Netherlands were saying, well, what about us? Just because you discovered it doesn't mean you get it all. So you had wars constantly from the early 1600s way into the 1730s, when piracy was eradicated, at least in the Caribbean, because economy was being completely stopped.
So you mentioned the Pope. Did religion play any sort of anything into piracy?
Religion did. You had Catholics against Protestants. You had Catholic countries against Protestants. And buccaneers, when they started, actually only went after the Catholic Spanish for the slaughtering that they did in the Caribbean islands.
You mentioned buccaneers. Can you tell us the difference between buccaneers and pirates?
Absolutely. Buccaneers, it's a little long story, so follow me here, okay? The Spanish went and decided that they owned all of the Caribbean islands, and they created settlements, and then after a while they would say, okay, we don't like this place, and they would go off. So one of those islands was Hispaniola, which now is the Dominican Republic and Haiti. When they left, political dissidents and criminals and indentured servants and escaped slaves all went onto that island. There were Arawak Indians on that island who taught them how to smoke meat. Then what they would do is they would take the meats and they would go to the ships passing by and they would barter for supplies. The French called those smoking houses boucans, and the men boucaniers, which anglicized to buccaneers. Now that sounds wonderful, but what happened was Spain decided they wanted the island back. And when most of the men were out bartering, they went back onto the island, the Spanish, and totally slaughtered everyone else. When they returned and saw the slaughter and knew that they could no longer stay on the island, they moved to Tortuga, which is the little island below it, and vowed to then just attack and kill any and all Spaniards. So until the mid-1700s, buccaneers only attacked really Spanish ships, Spanish land, Spanish people. That's that portion. Pirates didn't care. They went and attacked and killed and looted whoever they wanted. So that was basically the difference.
So I've heard the term privateer. Can you tell us what the difference between privateer and pirate is?
The privateer got an official document from their governments called the Letter of Marque, M-A-R-Q-U-E, and it stated that they have legal permission to attack and plunder any enemy of their country. Now the trick with that one is if you were sailing for months and months and a treaty happened, and then you didn't know about the treaty because they didn't have communications like we do nowadays, and you attacked an enemy ship that was now an ally, you became instantly a pirate. So if you went back on land and you thought, oh, here I have a ship full of all this wonderful goods, you were immediately slapped in irons and gone to jail. And that's what happened with William Kidd. The dreaded pirate Captain Kidd was really originally a privateer who attacked a Spanish ship right after there was a treaty with Spain and basically was then considered a pirate.
So when was the word pirate established?
The ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans. Piratus, one who sails and robs on the sea. And then we anglicized it to pirates.
So pirates, the image that we think of now, when did that come about?
The 1600s. We tend to find that that's more the flamboyant time, with the very, very flamboyant clothing of the nobility and the tricorn hats and the flintlock pistols. And that's the stuff that we love. It's the flash and the romance that we look at. But basically they were deadly, ruthless people.
Speaking of deadly, you mentioned pistols. Can you tell us a little bit about the weaponry that pirates had?
Well, the pirate preferred the cutlass, which is a wide-bladed, curved sword. And why they use that one is it's a hack and slash weapon, which you did not need to learn the finesse of sword fighting. And also, the blade was small enough that it did not get entangled on a small ship on the rope lines. Now, the rapiers and the sabers are a straight blade, and those are much longer, and they would get entangled on the lines of a ship. So you would do that. Now, the flintlock is the great equalizer, is what I like to say. It's a gun. They were very expensive. If you got one, it was phenomenal. And it's a one-shot item, but you didn't have to learn anything. You just had to learn how to load it, point it, fire it, and you had literally a fighting chance of winning, though it is a short-range weapon.
Did they use cannons a lot, or?
They used cannons on the ships a great deal, and in the movies you usually see them doing broadsides and destroying the ships, and most pirates really did not want to destroy their ships. They wanted to, as much as possible, keep it intact, because they would either take that ship as one of their own to create a fleet, or if they were very lackadaisical and they have just let their ship get ruined and no longer seaworthy, they would just take the ship that they captured. So that's just much more theatrical.
So about the ships, how would one acquire a ship if they wanted to start out in piracy? How would you get a ship?
Well, most of them either stole the ship, or what most people don't realize is governors from the Caribbean islands, or even the governors of the colonial Americas, would buy a ship, give them a ship, and take a percentage of the take for various reasons. One, to line their own pockets. A lot of times for the American colonies, England had such a low regard for Americans that they would not let any American goods sail back to England unless it was on an English ship with an English crew. So they really needed the infusion of money and merchandise into the colonies.
Was piracy big in America as it was in England?
Well, piracy was very, very big in the United States, well, the American colonies. And there was not so much piracy along the English channels. The big pirate in England was Grace O'Malley, the Irish pirate queen on the times of Elizabeth I, and another lady pirate called Mary Killigrew and her daughter-in-law, and they sailed and pirated around England. Most of the other piracy was the Caribbean, the Indian Ocean, and the Americas.
Were women pirate typical?
There were quite a few women pirates. Most of the time, women had such bad prospects on land. What they would do is they would bind their breasts, they would cut their hair to shoulder length, and they would go on board as if they were a young boy. Because boys as young as 8 would go on ships, as either legitimate ships, merchant ships, Navy ships. And they would go on as cabin boys, powder monkeys. By the age of 12, they would be full crewmen. So they would just go on and just get ribbed about being a boy that has not yet learned how to shave and his voice hasn't cracked yet. And if by any chance they were found out, they would go on another ship and change their name.
Could you describe a little bit about the way life was like on a pirate ship?
Life on sea was pretty miserable. I mean, we think it's just so glamorous. First of all, the water would get brackish in wooden crates. The food was rotty. If they were able to capture something that was live, they were thrilled because then they would have fresh meats. But most of the time, very few ports were friendly to pirates. You would have to figure it out because sometimes the colonies were friendly, sometimes they weren't, depended upon the governors. So there were months where they would be sailing and they could not even outfit their ships with water or food. The cheeses would get so hard they would even carve them into buttons and dice. And they have a biscuit called hardtack, which is baked until no more water is in the biscuit. And it is so hard that if you don't soak it in some kind of liquid, you would literally break your teeth. And you would not, and then what they would do is they would knock it on a table to see if the weevils would come out. And sometimes if they didn't have enough food, they would eat the weevils, they would eat the rats. It was not pleasant. One of the things they did appreciate is that they could drink as much rum as they wanted whenever they wanted, because on merchant and Navy ships they only got a small portion of rum each day to drink. And as I said, the drinking water was awful, so they were drunk a lot.
Which was worse, a Navy ship or a pirate ship to be on?
I would probably say a Navy ship, because a naval captain was God. He could kill anybody. Yeah, seriously. He could kill any one of his crewmen, and he would absolutely not go in front of a court of law for it, because he was God on the ship, because obviously some crew member did something that was against the rules. And one of the big things about pirates was that it was free and democratic. And if one pirate had an issue with another pirate, they settled it on land. They never settled it on the ship, because pirates never wanted to have that kind of division on a ship. So in other words, I would definitely pick the pirate ship, because sometimes even captains of regular Navy ships could say, I'm not going to give you your food. You're going to go get shackled and all you get is water for weeks on end. It was very brutal, and that's why many, many men deserted when they could.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about the pirate legends that we have? Can you shine a little light on those?
You mean like Blackbeard?
Yes.
Well, he's interesting. Blackbeard, or Edward Teach, was obviously from a well-connected family because he could read and write. That's one of the first signs. He was unusually tall for the times. He was over 6 feet. And he was a very sadistic man even when he was a midshipman under another pirate named Benjamin Hornigold, which was for pirates considered the man, the pirate. And when he was given his own ship, he became very ruthless. When he got his own ship from Hornigold, that's when he put on all black, and he put the fuses in his hair and in his beard and decided to make a reputation for himself. And he did, because everyone thought of him as the devil incarnate. Now, we know that he was addicted to laudanum, which is an opiate, and he would go around and even terrorize his own crew. On occasions, he would go and just shoot them, just to keep them, just because they never knew. And one of the interesting things is his first mate, Israel Hand, he shot him in the knee and he was aiming for another crewmate, but it helped Israel Hand from not actually getting hanged for a pirate because he never was on the last sail that Blackbeard was on. But he was feared by everyone. He blockaded Charleston for 2 weeks in 1718, and all he wanted was a full box of medical supplies. So I mean, and Charleston was a very, very rich port at the time, and people expected that he would want gold or jewels, and he was threatening to kill the people that he had captured to get this medical chest. Once they finally gave it to him, because they didn't believe that that's really all he wanted, he sailed away. And we're thinking that he probably wanted the mercury and the laudanum for the venereal disease running around on the ship. Bartholomew Roberts was a very interesting pirate. In a 2-year period, he captured the most amount of ships, 400 in fact. And one of the things that he vowed was he was going to go and kill the governor of Martinique because the governor had the audacity to say that he was going to be the one to capture Bartholomew Roberts. So what he decided to do, Bartholomew, was create his own pirate flag of him standing on 2 skulls with the comments with the letters A, B, A, and H, B, A with the head of the Martinique person. And actually he ended up doing that. He captured the governor's flagship, killed him, cut off his head, and had it flying from the bowsprit. But most pirates didn't last more than 2, or the famous ones, the ones that required the notoriety, did not really survive more than a 2 to 3 year period. Most pirates got a significant amount of money and then disappeared. In 1720, in ship's logs, they counted the sighting of over 1,000 pirate ships. But in that year alone, not one pirate ship was captured. So you're figuring, what is the percentage of people who got some of the monies that they wanted and then snuck into other countries and never being heard of again?
Can you tell us a little bit about pirate flags? You mentioned Bartholomew's. Did other people really have the skull and crossbone flag?
Well, the skull and crossbone is really the flag that most people know, and it is true. It's to show that death is imminent. And most of the pirates decided to jazz it up for their own particular style, and they did that so that when another ship saw their flag, they knew who the pirate was, and they knew what they were in for, so to speak. If you saw a flag that was a red field with a skull and crossbones, you knew that meant no quarter given, which signified that if you didn't surrender, if you shot one bullet or cannonball to that ship, no one was safe. They would slaughter everyone. So when you saw a black flag flying of a particular person, let's say Blackbeard's, you knew, oh, that was Blackbeard's ship, we better surrender right away. Because pirates really did not want to go and fight. They didn't want to lose people. They didn't want to waste their ammunition or their powder. They wanted to capture a ship, take everything they could, including people. If they needed crewmen, they would take them if they needed a surgeon and you had a surgeon on board. They would take the surgeon, whether the surgeon wanted to go or not. And that was a lot that happened. Many people became pirates because that their ships were attacked. And for one reason or another, they were either branded pirates and decided, well, okay, I might as well be one if you're branding me one, which happened to the pirate Hal Davis. Then that's how they acquired more and more notoriety.
So can you tell us, like, a couple of points, the least we need to know about pirates? There's so much. Just tell us a little bit.
They were ruthless individuals who decided that they were going to try and take as much money from these countries as they could to go and live the life that they dreamed that they really deserved.
Cool. Alrighty, well, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
That was really cool. I really like learning about pirates a lot.
Well, thank you for having me.
Alrighty. Thank you. We'll be back in just a moment to wrap up Direction Northeast.
What if there was a place
where your mind is nourished,
your time respected,
a place where you don't feel lost in the crowd,
where you get the attention you need
and deserve?
What if that place is right here?
right here?
Right here, all along.
Over 80 programs of study.
A main campus.
And convenient teaching sites.
Unlimited potential.
Right in your backyard.
Northeast State.
Northeast State.
Northeast State Community College.
But it would be safe to keep your distance until there's no secret that will make you smile. Reliable sources say that chicken soup has found their way out of this dangerous, but they are returned.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
That concludes the program for today. We learned about pirates and popular culture from our guest, author Gail Selinger. Community is very important to the students at Northeast State Community College, and this program takes a look at a few of the subjects that they find important. Until we meet next time, on behalf of the students, staff, and faculty of Northeast State Community College, I'm Amanda Broome, and this is Direction Northeast.